As you know, today the kind of themes are around mobile video and creativity. Mobile is obviously, as demonstrated, one of the kind of most technologically advanced pieces of kit we carry with us. And you guys are, well known for being at that vanguard of creativity and technology. So I understand you talked about having a screen agnostic approach to storytelling. I wonder if you could kind of explain more about what that means and how you take that approach.
Okay, so for us, we look at ourselves as storytellers, and the actual screen that you digest that on, for us, is almost irrelevant. We still put the same amount of production value and creativity and designing into the small screen as we would for the big screen. What's really exciting about the multi-platform use now, though, is the way I look at the way my children ingest their content, and they'll happily switch screens or watch several screens at the same time. In fact, my daughter does. So for us, we're finding creating content that is on the web that works in parallel or that's portable that you can take with you is just creating more and more of a demand for content.
And so that kind of non-linear, fragmented kind of engagement with content, obviously there's a lot of brand marketeers in the room. What advice would you give them for when they're thinking about how to approach that challenge?
Well, what we're finding with virtual reality is that there is a new way. It's a new way of telling stories. When you're in the virtual world, you are the camera, you are the center of the story, and you don't tell a linear story in the same way. So we're still learning. I think everybody in the virtual world is still learning. But what we're finding is that you give people choices. You give them multiple endings. You give them a way that they can steer themselves through the experience. And we're also looking at physical things that go with the experience. So it's not enough just to create a visual experience. You want to create literally a virtual experience, which means tricking all of your senses. So in the Game of Thrones experience, we had icy wind blowing, we had rumble packs in the cage, and we see that as being a place for introducing other experiences such as smell, the motion simulator. You could actually put the headset on and ride on a hippogriff or ride on a horse. Or perhaps you could have, one day you'll be able to have tea with Audrey Hepburn. With artificial intelligence, you should be able to question her about her career. We already have voice recognition creating real-time animation for the web, so you can talk to brand icons in real time. So it doesn't feel like that much more of a stretch. It's just waiting for processing power to catch up.
Is that the constraint, the process? I was going to say, because it seems like in fact, I read that when you were founded in 1986, you could only do TV resolution, but you knew Moore's law, which I'm sure everyone in the room knows Moore's law, that by 1993 you would be able to do what we see today, the kind of film resolution. So that being the case, what is the constraint now, and what is the next 7 years? Where's that going?
Well, I think it's like any technology. Once a piece of technology can deliver something to you, that becomes your standard. That's just what it can do, and then you just keep demanding more. I want faster. I want to be able to do more with it. I want to be more powerful. So for us, we know that things will get faster and faster. It allows us to be more creative because you don't have limitations of time. And for us, in a creative and innovative technical area, it's being able to do iterations. That's the crucial thing, is to try something. When it doesn't work, try it again, try it again. So a lot of the film shots that we do will go through 30, 40 iterations before they're approved. And so for us, the exciting thing about the speed of technological development is how it speeds up that process and allows us to be more creative.
Mm. And budget, does that become an issue?
Budget's always an issue. But funnily enough, when I look at Framestore, our biggest capital expenditure is on the talent. Even though we're a technology company, we spend more on talent than we do on the gear, because it's the brains that think up the solutions and how to adapt and use that technology that's the key to our success.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that because you mentioned how all the relationships that have been formed at Framestore, and I also understand there's a huge amount of collaboration in the industry in general, both between internally across all the different departments you talked about, but then also there might be several VFX companies working on a film, and So it's interesting to see, to kind of talk about that kind of the competitive element, but also that collaboration, and maybe what other industries can learn from that.
Yes, I mean the UK has become a centre for doing quality visual effects, and part of that is because of the size of the community we have, but also the way that we collaborate with other companies. We've had to we had to navigate our way through how to protect our own IP, because we're sharing assets between one another, and it's very easy to look under the hood, and you don't want to give away all of your trade secrets. But a lot of the projects that we work on have such scale that that's the only way we can physically get them done. So we've managed to collaborate with one another to do that. What I'm really excited about now, though, is the fact that we, instead of being at the end of the production chain as VFX vendors, where people think of an idea and then they come to us and say, make this real, is that we are now getting involved at the idea stage, because we are creating ideas now that work really well with the technology. And there's a lot of people in between that are getting squeezed, and as we move hopefully further up the chain.
Right, okay. And talking about that kind of that creative idea, when you showed how you solved the gravity issue with an auto manufacturing robot, I'd love to understand more what the genesis of that idea. You've got these engineers. Did you have someone who used to be in a car manufacturer, or how does that idea? Because when we do our creativity series, we talk a lot about two creatives, about the thought through to the execution, and how the kind of the mix of the thinking and doing.
Sure.
So yeah, I'd love to understand more about how that came about and how it kind of.
Yeah, I mean my partner Tim, who worked on that project, he did physics at Oxford, and his thinking about robots and the solution to that literally came out of his head. He's not an engineer, but he knew what he wanted to achieve, and then looked at what equipment was available today. And we did look at lots of other. He actually came up with a whole other methodology as well for the lighting. He had a gyroscopic rig with a light shining onto a mirror that would spin around the talent, but we ended up on the light box as the final solution. So it's the mixture, as I said earlier, of the talent of having physicists and mathematicians and computer scientists working alongside the creative people, and that's where we come up with those solutions.
Right. And what for you personally is more satisfying, creating one of your 400 characters in your zoo that is kind of an imaginary thing, or something where it feels real and the visual effects kind of move to the background?
Well, I think we try to make everything we do seamless. So for me, as I'm getting older, it's more about experiences. That's why I love virtual reality, is it creates these emotional experiences. So going up in the Vomit Comet, you tick the highlight box. That was a pretty special thing to do, which was captured all in camera. Yet my personal highlight would probably be I directed the hippos that are on the BBC that create the circle. Now, because that's in everybody's living rooms and everybody's grandmother's seen it, I can always say, "Oh, I did the hippos," and they go, "Ah," and now they know. So
the thing to tell your mum.
Exactly.
Yeah, yes,
exactly.
Absolutely.